the Zohar. The Zohar says that the word teshuvah, look at the top right. So the word teshuvah, which means to return. So it says the Zohar, the word teshuvah is two words. Toshuv hey, return or restore the hay. Which hay? So the Zohar goes on to say, number one, hey ilah, the higher hay. That's teshuvah ilah, the higher teshuvah. Hey tata, the lower hay. That's the lower level of teshuvah. What's the Zohar talking about? So just after the broken line there, you see Hashem's name spelled out there. Yud, K, Vav, K. Let's just get this technically first. The Zohar is saying that there are two Hay's in Hashem's name. So the higher teshuvah means we're restoring the Hay to the Yud, the letter before it. And the lower teshuvah means that we're restoring the lower Hay, Toshuv Hay, the second Hay, to the Vav before that. This is very cryptic. What on earth does this mean? And very mystical. So I'm going to share with you just basically what I'm sharing with you is, I guess, the essence of a Geras HaTeshuvah. Geras HaTeshuvah is a section of Tanya which deals with Teshuvah. And at a certain point, he explains this Zohar in order for us to understand what Teshuvah is. So this is a bit of a journey, friends, which I hope will be successful in taking. At the end, it's very, very powerful, extremely powerful message that will talk to each one of us, I have no doubt. But to get there, we need to have some understanding. So what we're going to explain there is like this. The Yud K Vav K, this is Hashem's holiest name. Now, although it has 4 letters, it actually represents the 10 attributes. We all know that Hashem has chosen to manifest himself through 10 attributes. And you know their names as Chochmah, Bina, Das, Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus. Once we're familiar with these terms, actually, they're davening all the time, and every bracha, every word of davening, every pasuk in Tanakh is in one way or another expressing one of these attributes in almost endless combinations and permutations. That's how God chose to manifest himself. And that's why the world is created with 10 Maimoros, 10 utterances, as it says in Pirkei Avos in chapter 5. Actually, if you count them, they're 9. 9 times it says Hashem said, and God said, let there be. But the first one, Bereshis, is also one. That's the first one. So the whole world's created in the template of 10. The decimal system works so well. It just works. It's a very good way to divide things up. 10, it works beautifully. It's the best system because we are a product of 10 attributes. The whole world comes into being through 10 attributes, and hence there's 10 fingers, the right hand, the left hand. It works neatly this way in dividing numbers and categorizing things, because we are a product of the 10 utterances, which themselves are an expression of the 10 spheres, the 10 ways God chooses to express himself. Now, these 10, we're going to get a strong lesson here in Chassidus and Kabbalah. Good morning, Jeremy. These 10 attributes are reflected, are hinted to, the 4 letters of Hashem's name. The 4 letters of Hashem's name, the Yud, then the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey, they embrace, as I'm going to explain, all 10 attributes. Now just hit the pause button. Where's this all going to go? It's all going to go that there's 2 kinds of teshuvah, right? There's the higher teshuvah, the lower teshuvah. The first Hey, the second Hey. It's all going to explain what a sin is, what happens, how we fix it, and what's the higher teshuvah, which even applies to a tzaddik. In the end, we're going to explain why when the Zohar talks about teshuvah, you would think we'd talk about the basic one first, and then the higher one. It starts with the higher one, and then the lower one. In the end, we'll see, no matter what level of teshuvah we're holding, even the lower one, which is because of transgression, it's really rooted deep down in this incredible, lofty teshuvah, which is really wired into our souls and hearts. Just give you an overview of how beautiful and exquisite this is going to go. It'll take some time to get there. And Aleph and I say we'll continue next week, but now we really will, because I can't leave this hanging. So we just get an overview of where it's going at the end. In order to get there, we have a journey to make. We need to have a lot of background understanding. What do we need to understand now? We need to understand how Hashem's 10 attributes, just basically, and how they are reflected in the 4 letters of his holiest name, Yud, K, and a Vav, and then a Hey. Actually represent the 10 attributes. Now, to understand Hashem's 10 attributes, we have to understand ourselves. How can we possibly understand God? So here's the whole point. Why did Hashem manifest 10 attributes? He's infinite. He's beyond numbers, beyond, in Hebrew they're called midas. Midas means a measure. God's beyond all measure. So why did he do this? Because he wants a relationship with you and I. And he's creating you and I with the same template. We have the same attributes on a human way, a human scale. 3 intellectual attributes and 7 emotions, reflective, exact same names, and reflective of his divine, because he wants a relationship. And a relationship can only be if you share things in common. If God's just God, infinite God, then you have no understanding of any way it works. You believe in him, but you have no relationship. Other than maybe fear or please give me or that. You can't love him, can't be in awe of him. Love, you can only love him if you're familiar. If it's common language, common ground, he relates to you in a way that relates to you. So Hashem has chosen, therefore, to manifest himself in a highly structured system, because here is a human being that is a finite creature made with a system, and I want to connect to him, you and me. Hence, by understanding these 10 attributes in our own human soul, this gives us an understanding as to what they are for the divine system. Let's begin. So if you look at after the broken line there, it says 10 attributes, spheres. We're talking about the divine, but at the same time, we're talking about how it parallels for us. So what this is doing here, it's showing how all 10 attributes are represented by the 4 letters of Hashem's holiest name. Let's just read the words and I'll explain it. Chachma is the first name of the first attribute. It's represented by the letter Yud. I wrote out the word Yud, and then in the Hebrew. Just looking at the Yud, they see it's a dot. It's a dot. The letter Yud is really a point. That's really what it is. In fact, all letters in the Hebrew alphabet are really an extension in one way of the Yud. It's a drop of ink, as it were. Now we're saying, let's read the next line and I'll explain it. Discovery of truth, sight, objective. Okay, hit the pause button, don't look at the paper, listen up and I'll tell you what I mean. We have 3 faculties of intellect, which we're going to be looking at right now. Then there's Bina and there's Das, because Chabad stands for that. Put that aside. These are the highest faculties of the human being. That's what the head sits on top of. Physically, then the heart below, and then the lower productive organs. The animals all on one level. Animals are one. There are animals that are born and die, don't even know there's a sky. They don't know there's a sky. They never saw the sky. They know there's grass, there's water, and what's doing here, and that's all they know. Hashem made us that we can see the heavens. The head, intellect, and the head is the top. There are 3 faculties of intellect. First, Chochmah, then Bina, then Das. Chochmah is the highest. What's the highest faculty of intellect? The highest faculty of intellect is that part of me that wants to discover and know the truth. What's the emphasis? What's the truth? It's the truth seeker, period. And this is the way it works. Steve, I'm going to ask you if you can put the phone that it shouldn't move. I had this menu disease when the screen goes in front of me. You don't want this to happen. It can set me off in a second in a downward spiral, unless I'm not looking. So you just put the phone stationary. Good, thank you. So what's Chacham? It's many manifestations. This is the basic idea. So you're trying to figure out something, whether it's a text or you've got a problem and you want the objective solution. It's trying. All of a sudden what happens is, doesn't always, but you get this, I got it. This eureka moment, the comic books has it like if a light bulb goes on. And we said it's in common parlance. You see the light bulb. You actually look at something and you go, the light bulb just went off. The penny dropped. You got it. What happens at this moment? At that moment, what happens is the truth of the idea just illuminates you. It comes from a very deep place in the soul that just knows what truth is and just responds to it. So when you're exposed and you're to that, it's like sight. It's like being in a dark room, an unfamiliar dark room, and for a second, the light goes on and off, and that second, I got it. Now, if someone disturbs you and says, well, what did you get? You get, because you can lose it. You're going to forget even what you saw. You've got to now process it. And what did I see? And reconstruct it in your head. That's already been second stage. So Chachma is, I write like it's called sight. It's seeing. The analogy is physically seeing. Because when you see something, what's happening? The truth of what that is light is traveling. When you see something, right? Here's a camera. There's a mountain over there. I click. How did the mountain get onto my camera? How did the image get here? Because light travels from the mountain, faithfully portraying the image, and it's recorded on the screen or on your brain. And the head is a very complicated, extremely complicated camera, way beyond any physical camera, way infinitely beyond. But the same principle when seeing is the eyes up to shutter, eyes open, light's traveling, you're seeing. It's the objective truth of what is. We all see the same way if the apparatus is working. And what does it mean to me? That's a whole different question. But it's going to be objective. That's the truth. When you're listening to something, it's going to be subject. What's happening right now when you're listening? I'm saying in one word, another word. You're hearing the words, you're decoding them, you're putting together. You're so actively involved to hear what I'm saying. Completely unlike seeing. You're going to just open your eyes, boom, it's there. Listen to something, it's completely engaged and it's subjective. That's why we all,
You don't think someone could see something and it's
his interpretation.
Right.
I'm saying the actual act of sight is the same. The interpretation is going to, what does it mean to you? That's the second consideration. But just the sight, the actual same picture. But listening right away, it's different. Because what the same word means for me, for you, it's not exactly the same. Words are just the five organs of speech colliding, producing sounds. Because you know English. Look, someone sitting doesn't know English. Perfect hearing, and it's super intelligent, just gets nothing, because a word is a container. And you've got to open, it's an envelope. That's what the Hebrew word for word, teva, is a box or a container, because the word's a box. And you've got to open up the box, take out the idea, string it together. It's a miracle. Anybody ever knows, really gets what someone else is saying. There's so much work you got to do when you listen to someone. You do it quickly, you're not conscious, but it's subjective. So we all hear differently. Seeing is the objective truth. So Chochmah is a point, Yud. Because what's Yud? Yud means that it's not me, I'm here, but I'm just the truth. I'm not completely nullified to the truth that has come to me. Like when the Eureka moment comes, the person's like, he's oblivious to his surroundings, he's completely like overwhelmed with the truth of what is. He is like a little point there. It's not my opinion, it's not my take on it, it's completely a subjective moment. The next moment, Bina is, I'm already analyzing it, my language, my words, very subjective. That's when I take ownership, etc. What's Das? We'll go quickly through the 10 attributes on a human level. So Chochmah is, again, the truth. Whatever, it could be any subject. It's speaking about God, the truth of Hashem, but it could be any subject. Any subject in business and anything. And sometimes it's a difficult truth. You know, this is what it is. Now I'm going to have to deal with it. Putting self aside, what's really going on? That's Chochmah is really a discovery of whatever the situation, the objective truth of what it is. Putting self aside with no agenda, just what is it? And Bin is it's analyze it. And now what's Das? Das is personalize it. You can analyze it in your head, it's all very clear. What does it mean to me? You're going to take this home, it's a part of your life, or walk away. So Das is connecting. Das is connecting whatever the subject matter, the truth is, it's a choice, whether it becomes something that's part of your life or not. You can know information and then very thoroughly bin, write a book and so on, but it's nothing to do with your life. It's a subject matter that whatever it is, or just something very personal. When it comes to Yiddishkeit, obviously, it should be personal. All our understanding and appreciation. So Das is to connect. That's what Das means. The Torah wants to speak about man and woman becoming one. It uses the word Das. And Adam knew, Adam Yoda, K-N-E-W, the word Das as Chava, but that's when you connect to something. And Das is critical because you can learn and learn and learn. But if you're missing the personal connection, this is my God talking to me, whether this is my wife, my family, you don't have that, it's all the theory of it all. But it's not going to move and stir the heart. So what stirs the heart is when you personalize the idea. When you approach it with this relates to my life. And that then stirs the heart. So we have three faculties of intellect. And the heart is stirred when the mind understands, not just the theory, but it's my story. You can look at a person's a smoker, yeah? And they show him a picture of a lung, a blackened lung. It's somebody else's lung. Okay, he understands very well that the doctor explains it, and then they tell him, this is your lung. Oh, that's das. That's a whole different. He didn't get more information about the lung, but all of a sudden it's mine. It's a terrible example, but then that's going to produce some results. If we don't connect personally to what we're doing, it remains in the world of theory and it doesn't bring any emotional response or any change on the ground. You're learning about a business, but it's my business. Then we get moving on. So, Chokhmah is the discovery of the truth objectively. Bina is I'm analyzing, becomes personal, it's my language, but it's got to start with what the truth is. It's got to start with the emes, objectively. Then you've got to take ownership, so that's Bina, you understand, you analyze. Intellectual ownership, then personal ownership, and then the emotions. So there are 6 emotions which follow. Because depending on what it is that you've appreciated can lead to you want to be close, you want to be far, without going down to the whole gamut of the emotions. There are basically 7 or 6 emotions which are born as a result of appreciation and understanding. And you can't love something that you don't appreciate, that you haven't made personal and internalized. You can't be in awe of something if there isn't an understanding, an objective understanding, then a personal understanding, and then internalize that this is awesome for me. The heart's not going to move with awe and respect if, again, that das faculty isn't there. And just to tell you, this was our tefillin is representing all of this. The tefillin has 4 compartments. There's a shin on 3 on one side, 4 on the other. The 3, look at your tefillin. The 3 shin is chachma bin das, and then it splits. 4-headed shin on the right side, because then das then splits into different emotions depending on the awe of God, love of God, depending on what the meditation is. Sometimes love is appropriate, sometimes respect, awe is appropriate. Sometimes get close, sometimes step back. So it splits depending on the nature of the meditation. Then the 7 emotions, here's the heart. It's all the intellect and the straps coming down, that which I know should come down and move the heart. And each of the emotions, when they're appropriate, should be engaged. There's love of God, there's awe of God, and all of the rest of the emotions. This is all, by the way, parallels marriage, because that's always the model in marriage. All of this is in the appreciation, the objective appreciation of the gift that Hashem, you have your soulmate, the truth, and then then the bina, your understanding of her and the person. Like, this is my wife, my gift, and the love and the awe, and all of the various dimensions of the heart. Each one at its time. Sometimes it's respect, sometimes it's love. Step forward, step back. It's not always all. Each one has its time and place, but they're all engaged in the relationship, a full emotional connection. And then the final attribute, malchus, that's the name of it. Malchus means governance. Malchus is the behavior. The words you're going to say, the acts you're going to do, all fueled by the emotions, which in turn is fueled by the appreciation. And as our intellect expands and matures, our emotions mature. Things we were loved and awe of as kids, not the same way we get older, hopefully. Little things excited us and small things we were afraid of as we get older. The mind expands, the heart responds. That's the nature. The mind and the heart have this symbiotic relationship. As this develops, the emotions develop. So our emotion hopefully mature and deepen as our intellect and appreciation of life and truth deepens. So what we just did now is, we just went in a few minutes, the 10 faculties of the soul. We said There's three faculties of intellect: Chochmah bin Das, spark, discovery, development, internalization, six emotions, and then finally behavior. How do you express the emotion? The words are going to say, the acts are going to do. It's called Malchus, governance, because what's government? Government is just all about, bottom line behavior, rules of the way we conduct ourselves in life. Your relationship with government is not intellectual, emotional. It's pay the taxes, do the things. It's a physical governance. So Malchus means governance. That's the term that's used. It means the way we govern ourselves behaviorally. But what's fueling that is the emotion. What's fueling the emotion is the appreciation in the mind. Now, I just want to say that we'll conclude with this. We haven't really got to any close to what teshuvah means. It's all leading to that. But now we want to just point out that the 10 attributes are hinted in the 4 letters of Hashem's name. Let's look at it now. So Chachma is represented by Yud. We see why. Because Yud is a point. It's a point. And what's Chachma? Chachma is the person himself in this state, is a point. It's not about him. It's about the truth that he has opened and willing to discover. So it's represented by a Yud. One more reason. When you first discover that truth, then you yourself have developed it. It's like a seed in your head. So it's yet to be developed. Now, the reason why it's represented by a point, because the epiphany, you're in a dark room, the light went on for a second off. It's all there, but it's in a point form. You got to now rethink it, and then I saw that. You got to then develop it like a seed. So the truth, the epiphany, you don't have all the details. It's like a seed that has everything, will solve all the problems hereafter. You've discovered some formula, some truth. You've really gone to the bottom line of what's going on. But that initial encounter is seminal. Also, it's another reason why represented by the Yud. So 2 reasons. You are like a point there. It's the truth that is illuminating. You're just, wow. Mm-hmm. You are not non-expressive. And the idea that's in your head is also like a point yet to be developed. Clear? The Hey represents Bina, understanding. Because look at the physical structure of the Hey. Unlike the Yud, it's got a roof and it's actually like a building. So here, at this stage, you take this point, this seminal point you discovered, and you develop it. So it's physically represented by the letter Hey. Okay, so Hey represents the next stage, Bina. Vav is 6. So Vav are the 6 emotions that are born, I just list them there, from, depending on the nature of the meditation, of that which we've grasped. So there are 6 emotions. I'm just giving you a little bit to understand. Das is represented here as well, because you can't, by definition, you can't have emotions if you don't personalize, you don't connect to the idea. So Das is what gives birth to the emotions. So the letter Vav represents the emotions. And the final Hey represents behavior, the 3 strokes. Thought of the Hey, the roof is the thought, the right leg is words, and the left leg are deeds. So that's the bottom Hey. So for our purposes now, to conclude with this, we have 2 Heys here, right? The first Hey represents understanding, Bina, understanding, analysis, hearing. The last Hey represents behavior. The Zohar said that teshuvah means restore the Hey. Just say this now or we'll continue. The lower teshuvah means the lower Hey got disconnected. You got to bring it back. The higher teshuvah means there's a disconnect between the higher Hey and the Yud. You've got to somehow fuse those 2. What's the lower teshuvah? Now we're getting some sense. If my thoughts, words, and deeds were disconnected from Hashem, I got to restore that Hey within me and bring my behavior back to be true to who I really am. And as we're learning incredibly, Hashem himself, his name, we've dragged him into this. We've caused a discord within him, and we're making him whole, or his name whole again. So already now we have some insight as to what the Zohar means, but the lower teshuvah means restore the lower Hey. We've now learned the lower Hey represents thought, speech, and action. Well, that's what sin is. I did say the wrong word, entertained the wrong thoughts, which is much more difficult, or did the wrong thing, Now teshuvah is, I'm going to bring that back. I will not do that anymore and do the right things, say the right words, entertain the right thoughts. So I'm bringing back my behavior, my governance, the way I've governed myself in whatever area in life where I shouldn't have, whatever it is, I am teshuvah bringing it back. Not just for me, but God's name, Hashem himself, because he's invested in me. I've fragmented, divided him. I'm making him whole again. We'll go much deeper into that. And then most puzzling is, what's the higher teshuvah? What does it mean to disconnect the bina from the chokhmah within God? In the end, we'll see that higher teshuvah is really the essence of all teshuvah. It's very beautiful. We need more explanation. God willing, continue.